Music. Yeah.
Milsurp Garage. What do we have for you today? Today we have a couple Crossman air guns. We have the 38C. Boom. This one was recently given to me by a friend. He was doing work at someone's house and they knew he was into guns and they were like, hey, you want this? It's laying around in the attic. Well, whoever put it in the attic kept all the paperwork. And look, even these, they're period. They have them right on here. And they're like, they're period. This one is in 22 caliber. And this is an older one. We're going to get to the actual dates and everything like that in a minute. Well, you know what? I might as well take it out of here. But this is one of the older ones. So that one's new to me. This one has been mine since my dad got it for me in, I don't know, probably around 1978, maybe, something like that. 80, somewhere in there. And, oh, here, I'll show you what's in here. I took good care of mine, too. These pellets were bought within the last, 10 years, whatever, so there's nothing old about those. But I do have my instruction book and my cleaning rod, just like the other one. See, so I took good care of my stuff. The box is in decent shape, too. So there they are, the 38T. This, of course, is newer. There are some differences between the two, but it's kind of cool because this one's in 177. So between these two, I kind of cover a lot of the different variations between this exact model. But they have an interesting history, believe it or not. You'd think that I'm coming with air guns and I don't have any history for you, but listen to this. Crossman started in 1923. During the late 50s into the 60s, right, they had mostly, let's see, I do have some notes here. They had a Wild West series of revolver replicas. And these things were very popular. And the company grew. They got very big, and when a company gets big, they have, people that go around and they say all right, how are we going to make this company bigger? They have a lot of money to spend and chances to take to maybe expand the company, right? So they had these guys go out, these marketing guys, and try to find out these guys had this idea in the sales department that they went to the Air Force and they asked the Air Force, hey, would you guys be interested in some of our air guns? We make replicas. Would you be interested to use any of them for training? And it just so happened that the Air Force had this group of guys called the Strategic Air Force Police. And what these guys did was they guarded air bases, missile bases, radar defense installations. Most of them were domestic, but some of them were on foreign soil. And but they were all in these remote locations. When they make these missile silos or they put up radar dishes, they're not in main areas. These radar dishes are spread out all over the place, for coverage, So the people that actually worked at these installations, it'd be really tough to train. You got a crew of 6 that rotate on and off at some remote radar dish installation. How are you going to train these guys with their, they had Smith & Wesson revolvers. How are you going to train these guys with, to go to ranges or to qualify with their weapons or for weapons training? So, so the Air Force originally was shown this Model 160, and they tested it, and they didn't like this because it didn't closely resemble the Smith & Wesson revolver that they were used to using, that these guys were using. So what did Crossman do? They built a prototype. 1962, they built these prototype 38 replicas. The Air Force loved them, and they went into production. And then Crossman started selling these things to police departments, different types of law enforcement agencies. And it was so successful, they started up a new company, the Crossman Professional Products Division. They were formed to sell air guns as training tools. And this was so successful, they started up a new company, the Crossman Professional Products Division. And not only did they sell these, were they coming up with contracts to sell these for training purposes, but they had this whole system called the Crosman Moving Picture Combat Target System, which would project an image onto paper. They'd have like a wall of paper that they'd project this image, and it played a video of certain scenarios, different scenarios. And the second that the trainee shot the airgun, the picture would freeze. So you would be able to see exactly in the paper where the person shot. So they would probably, I didn't see any of these videos, but if my just guessing, they probably devised all different kinds of scenarios where they would try to fool you into thinking that the aggressor was really like an innocent person, or maybe somebody would reach quick and pull something out and they would wait to see if you're shot, and then there's a wallet in the guy's hand, not a gun, things like that. I'm sure you could get really creative with it, I'm sure. But it was hugely popular. And back then, we're talking about the 60s here. I mean, this must have seemed like so futuristic, you know what I mean? And it is a great idea. And I'm sure they use something similar to that. Like, well, since then, now it's more technological, but I'm sure they use things like that even to this day. So what these things are really a copy of is the 38C. This guy is a copy of the K38 Combat Masterpiece, later known as the Model 15. And the 38T with the long barrel is a replica of the Target Masterpiece, later known as the Model 14. And these Masterpiece revolvers are basically Smith & Wesson Model 10s, the military and police revolver, with these same adjustable sights, same single action, double action trigger pull. And these things were made very realistic weight, size, trigger pull, feel, the sight picture, everything about them very, very accurate, very, very close to the originals. And for power, to power these pellets, obviously there's no pumping going on here. These were CO2. So your CO2 cartridge is screwed here, screwed in, and this through a tube right here connected to a cylinder. The interesting mechanism inside. They do sell rebuild kits for these, by the way. But this side plate right here is removable with these screws to get inside. And also there's a screw here to remove the barrel. And these barrels are removable and interchangeable. So if you had one like this and you bought the longer barrel, you could swap it over. You could switch them back and forth. And they were so successful that they just started using them for civilian use. They started selling them to civilians. And let's see when that started, actually. Let me get out this paperwork here, exactly when. All right. So the first variant, 1964 to 1976. There's 3 variants. There's this book here. I'm going to put it up on screen now. This is the quintessential book for the, I believe, this is the Airgun collector's book. The book that everybody references. And in here, they break it down also with these 3 different variants of these. And the years and the features, they cross in a weird way where it can get a little bit confusing, but I'm just going to try to just cover the basics of it. So the first variant was in 22 caliber from 1964 to 1976. So there were 2 versions that came out initially for the public. So the 38T, the 6-inch barrel here, and the 38C, the 3 3/4 inch barrel, both rifled barrels. They were both in 22 caliber, and both were all metal construction. This one is one of those models. So this cylinder right here is metal. This here, all of this is metal. And the the grips are made of plastic, obviously. But this cylinder that's in here that holds the pellets was metal. And the rear sight. The rear sight is also made of metal. It has this look to it, this long tang up on top here. And in here is a set screw that sets the barrel in place. Now, this was also available. This is in 22 caliber. This is one of those older ones. This is in 177 caliber, so that's why I don't want to confuse you. The 38Ts would have looked the same as this. They would have had, this would have been metal. This one, it's plastic because it's a later version. So just, actually, to not be confusing, I'll just get it out of here. They made this gun with both barrel lengths, 64 to 76, in 22 caliber only. Now, the second variant, the production of the first version of the 22C, this guy, continued until 73. Okay, sorry. So this one only went from 64 to 73. 64 to 76 was the 38T, the longer one. Then the second variant was made in parallel with the first variant, meaning that they made them at the same time, was the same thing, the 38C, 64 to 76, and the second variant of the 38T was introduced in 73 and went to 76, okay? So those were in 22 also. So the T, the long-barreled one, was only with the metal parts from 64 to 73. And then from 73 to 76, they switched to these plastic parts, but still 22 caliber. This guy went straight through 64 to 76. And there was, in parallel, they also made one of these in plastic, with plastic also. I lost. From 64 to 76. Wow, I just somehow completely confused myself. But then in 76, the growing popularity and lower cost of 177 caliber pellets prompted Crossman to drop the 22 versions completely. Both pistols went to 177 caliber, identical to the 22 version, except for just the they was still plastic construction for the rear sight, and the pellet. They call this the rotary pellet carrier. Okay, so this is the plastic one. Don't worry if you're confused, because I'm confused. But look here, even the sight went plastic, and see how it's shorter? It doesn't go all the way down like that to here. So those were the differences. I thought I had this ironed out when I read it. I was like, I got it, I understand it. But it's like every time I read it, I get a different timeline. But basically, all you would really need to know is that if you see them with all the metal construction, you know it's one of the older ones. And if they're in 22, they're definitely one of the older ones, because apparently from 76 on, it was just the 177. So that's when my dad got this, maybe 78, 79, somewhere in there. You're supposed to be able to tell from the year is supposed to be here, but it's like this. My stamping is kind of weird, so I can't really read it. It's supposed to be like a letter, and it would be January, February, March would be like A, B, C, D, like that. And then there was the year right after that. So if it said like C79 would be March of 79. It would be C79, then the whole serial number. I could read my whole serial number, but that letter and the two numbers are like the stamping was offset a little bit, so it's tough to read. Kind of looks like maybe it says 80, so maybe my dad did get this in 80 or 81 for me. So all right, so we got some specifications here that this guy posts here online. The double action trigger pull, around 8 pounds, okay? And it's supposed to be about 10 pounds for the later version. It's like, let's see if that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. This definitely feels like it's a couple of pounds more. That's absolutely true. But they're rated for uniform, smooth, clear, and consistent break. Yeah, I mean, they're made as training tools, so they cannot feel like toys in that respect. And they really do feel realistic. Manually cocking the hammer gives a short and relatively light, around 5 pounds on all versions. Trigger pull, single action trigger pull. Pretty crisp break there. All versions fire with a bang that's noticeably louder than most current replicas. Power is more than adequate. 300 to 320 feet per second for the 2238C right here. 10 to 15 PSI higher for the 2238T. This is 177. So the 177 38C around 340 to 360 feet per second. The 177 38T, which is this guy, the highest, 400 feet per second. Accuracy is very good. CO2 consumption is around 40 to 50 shots for the 22 versions and 50 to 70 shots for the 177 caliber versions. And these things seem to have a leak in a specific area. There's a short piece of copper pipe that takes the CO2 from the main CO2 seal to the firing valve. At either end of this pipe are threaded gland seals, they're called. And this guy says both of his were leaking from the gland seals. Unscrewing the gland seal and reassembling it with a little silicone sealant cured the leak, or there are rebuild kits. And he's saying here that seems to be the weak point of the design. He's heard of a lot of them that leak from that area, but it seems to be a pretty easy fix. And also, the barrel here, right? Let's say this pen here is the barrel. Getting the barrel as close to this cylinder as possible without hitting it. If it's too far back here, you can imagine the pellet's got to like jump a gap, and there's a lot of gas gets lost here. So getting it as close as you can to this revolving cylinder is important. And right in here, there's a set screw that sets that distance. So he also talks about that as well. Of course, if you're not sure what you're doing, it's probably best to leave it alone. But that is where there is a specific adjustment to those who are aware of, exactly how to do that right. So all I can tell you is when I was a kid, I had a blast with this thing. This was like a luxury for me because, when you're a kid, you don't really have too many resources, you know what I mean? So like the pump action guns were great. They're basically free. I mean, all you really need are just the pellets, that's it. And I mean, come on, your dad would go out and buy you a couple of tins of pellets like this or whatever, and they'd last you forever. So that wasn't a problem, but it was when you really wanted to splurge, you'd be using these because, to get even just a box of these like this, you know what I mean? That your dad would come home with a box of CO2s for you. It would be awesome. These are period too. These are old ones. But and then me, I didn't really like these as much because they had that drop off, and I never had anything 22 caliber. These are the 22 caliber pellets. And these are old school. These are like period. They're pretty cool. Pretty hefty pieces of lead right there. And the 177s that I was more used to, these are newer production, of course. But I didn't even have the luxury of having, look at these, are like pointy. I didn't have anything. The Crossman ones were just flat in the front. Look, these things actually have like a spitzer tip. That's pretty cool. I'm sure that increases velocity a little bit. And look at this even. They have freaking, I wonder if you'll be able to even see this. They have hollow points. Look at that. There's actually a hollow point there. Wild. Did not have that when I was a kid. But, yeah, you load them. You load them one at a time through here. And then you let it slide in. You go to the next chamber. You put the pellet in there. Boom. You load each one. And then you got 6 shots in here, and it revolves around, That is pretty cool. I just remember as a kid playing with this more as like cops and robbers, like just playing. I had a holster for it. It was pretty cool. It was because of the feel of it or whatever, you really felt like you were holding and fooling, playing cops and robbers with a real gun. But I did my fair share of shooting with it. But like I said, for me, it was kind of like a luxury to end up with, CO2 cartridges. And that's that. So here, you see the differences here with... it's interesting, there's a set screw here also in this one, but no set screw in the plastic guy that I saw. Yeah, it's interesting. Noticed that right away. I was like, I don't remember that ever being on mine. But this all metal construction, this one's a little different. There's just a serial number on the bottom here, so to date them is really weird. But you would know just from looking at the different versions that this one would only be somewhere between 64. When did they stop making that? 64 and 73. So this one somewhere between 64 and 73. Oh wait, actually, let me see. There was some interesting. Let me take a look at the paperwork here. I think I had something that. I think I had some kind of. Right, yeah, here we go. 4/1970. The dealer's name, which I can't read. And April 1970. Somebody wrote that in the guarantee certificate area. So this guy definitely 1970. This is the box for the 1970 version. Okay, there's definitely an older box. I'll throw a picture of it up here. I saw that online as an older box. And then this is my box from somewhere between 1970, 76, yes, from 76 to 85. That was when these were made, 76 to 85. I'm confusing myself again. Alrighty, well, that's what I got for you. Crossman 38 series revolvers. Actually, I could show you, where is it? I do have them in a catalog. Where's my catalog? All right, well, one last thing here. I do have my Edelman's catalog. This was a sportsman supply place from back in the day. This is old. But we have here the Crossman Pell Gun. They call them Pell Guns. Must have been some Northeast thing. Crossman, let me zoom in here a little bit so you can see. Crossman Pell Guns, 38s. 6-shot double and single action, uses disposable powerlets. That's what a CO2 cartridge was, a disposable powerlet. Realistic 38 simulators that law officers, targets, shooters, military personnel, and handgun enthusiasts requested Crossman to develop. Absolutely true. Authentic and accurate, they provide actual weight, style, size, and balance of the popular 38 firearms, plus identical hammer and trigger action. True. Also convenient range requirements, can be shot at home, club rooms, meeting halls, almost anywhere. Combat Model, 3.5-inch barrel, they're calling it here. Ramp, quick draw type front sight, fully adjustable micro click open rear sight, combat quality trigger pull. Caliber 22 overall, 8.5 inches, 40 ounces. Target Model, 6-inch barrel, undercut ramp front sight, fully adjustable micro click open rear sight, target quality trigger pull. 22 caliber again. So this is, we could tell just from that this is what, 1976, this catalog, right? And I think, yeah, this is a 1971 catalog. So there you go. $25.75 in 1971. And we do not have on the other side any, nope, nothing else besides those. See that? And I did have, hold on, let me see if I can find the other. one more thing. Guns and Ammo, 1970 annual. Boom. Oh, this is... Here it goes. We got them in here too. Let's see. Crossman. Here we go. 38T. 22 caliber. CO2 powered. $32.50. So I got, and this is 1970. Wow, these guys were expensive. It's going up in price, back in time and up in price. Crossman 38C, 22 caliber, 4-inch barrel. It's listed as here. Boy, I guess accuracy was not the pinnacle of these companies here. See, these are here's a Crosman Model 45. Oh, what was that other one? Maybe we could find it in here. What was that called? Crossman, the one that they were looking to sell to them to use. The Model 160. See if we see a 160 in here. 130. 65. I don't see a Crossman Model 160 in here. You see, I'm just not seeing it. Hopefully I found this online for you guys. But anyway, that's all I got. I'll see you next time. We got some cool stuff on the way. Stay tuned. See you later.
Yes,